I grew up in the Northeast in a suburban area. I grew up in a large family. I had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. My family was very influenced by our religion. We went to Catholic school, but also grew up economically challenged. We were the first generation to go to college, my brothers and sisters and I. That's about it.
I am from Durham, North Carolina. I was born in Queens, New York. My parents are originally from Liberia, which is in West Africa. I moved to New York. I was born in New York, and by the age of 8, I moved away from New York and came to North Carolina and Cary. I have 2 older siblings, older brother and an older sister. The reasoning for moving from New York to North Carolina is my parents were in a lower socioeconomic area, so they felt the move to North Carolina would be better. My 2 older siblings, like I mentioned, I have an older brother and an older sister. My older sister is in New York, and my brother is in Winston-Salem.
Moja ім'я Надя, і як я була маленька, я говорила по-українськи, не по-англійськи. What I just said was, my name is Nadine, and when I was growing up, I spoke Ukrainian, not much English. I'm female, Caucasian. My dad was born in Ukraine. My mom was born in Pennsylvania. I was born in New Jersey. I've lived in the Northeast until I moved down south 4 years ago. I'm from a, I guess, suburban setting, maybe urban setting. We weren't very rich. My brother, my sister, and myself all went to college. My mother dropped out of high school. My dad was educated in Ukraine. I am musical. I'm an animal lover. My religion is Ukrainian Orthodox. I am, I think, an extrovert, but I am shy until you get to know me.
My name is Whitney Anderson. I am a middle child of a family of 3. I was the first person in my immediate family to go to college, and an interesting thing about me is my father was a child of a sharecropper in South Carolina, and neither of my parents went to college themselves. My dad and my mom both did finish high school. I am also a mom and am currently a pregnant person, so that's kind of a different spin on things. I have always been labeled because of my height, and a lot of times I find that people do not always take me seriously because I am shorter, or maybe don't necessarily look my age, if that makes sense. In order to gain a different perspective, I moved up to the mountains after graduating college here, and I'd always been an middle to upper white class family. Moved to the mountains so I could see the different sides of poverty, and taught there in a very rural and impoverished area. The school that I worked at there was a total of 320 students. And then when I relocated back here, I actually moved and worked in a very urban school in the middle of downtown Raleigh that had over 1,000 students. So gaining perspectives there and understanding the differences between urban and rural, poverty especially. And just sitting here, I am also a stepmom to 2 teenagers, and speak Spanish, and have sat here and visited some of the Hispanic cultures and find that very interesting to connect to their culture as well, and understanding some of their beliefs. And yeah, that's kind of it about me.
Okay, one of the favorite things about my life and the influences it's had on my life is all the different places I lived. When I grew up, I lived in the same place. I grew up in a suburb of Orlando, Florida. But after I grew up and left the house, I lived in Atlanta, I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, I lived in Oregon, I moved to Boston and before moving here, and I loved living in all different parts of the country and learning what was similar and what was different. Like I said, I grew up in Orlando. I had a small family. We always had enough money for basics, but we were frugal. So I remember wanting a lot of things that I never could get, or get name brand things. And I still feel like, even though I have a little bit more luxurious life now, that I like to be frugal and don't like to spend money very easily. I grew up Catholic. I no longer practice that religion, but I think that that influenced a lot of my beliefs and practices. I'm also on the liberal side of politics, and I am very politically interested. And so it drives a lot of things that I read or talk about with my friends.